Okay. Hello. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today, we're going to be watching something different, right? A little different. We are talking about Lizzie Twats and why this woman has all of a sudden become infatuated with a four-time killer, a family annihilator, a baby killer, child killer, and woman killer. So, we are going to be looking into why some women fall in love with convicted killers. And this is coming from a channel called Profiling Evil. Very, very good channel. I just started watching this channel, actually. They have a lot of good information on the psychology of these crazy people. And so I wanted to really talk about it. I wanted to dive into Lizzie Twats and why she's doing this. Is she really doing it for attention? Is she doing it for money? Is she doing it to get out of bankruptcy? Or is she really in love with Twister Twats? Which I doubt. I mean, who falls in love with Twistifer? I mean, come on. Out of all people, right? Out of all people, Twister Twats, out of all of the killers as well, right? There's so many inmates in prison. Why choose a family annihilator? Why choose a killer? There's so many other types of criminals that she can choose from if that's really what she's into. If she is into the bad boy, right? I'm into the bad boy. Okay, then why Chris Watts? I mean, he's clearly not a bad boy. He's an idiot. So I do want to look into this. I wanted to watch it with you all and see what you guys think. All right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Well, I have at times kind of rocked back on my
Okay, and like I said, guys, this is here. Sorry, before we go into it, this is from the channel called Profiling Evil. So, um, if you can, and please do, go ahead and head over to their channel and watch it. Give them a thumbs up. Very, very good channel. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue.
heels at some of the things that you have shared and some of the things that you've gained after interviewing. I would bet hundreds of inmates in the California correctional system, the patients that you have in a regular kind of a clinical setting, and the cases that you've researched. But as you think about this case, and maybe I'm going to lump together this case and a Luigi Mangione. What is it about a woman who wants to develop a relationship with a convicted killer, and are there like commonalities or this emotional or psychological need that's going on that a relationship this might be granting?
Okay, before we go into this, so he really is lumping in a bunch of other killers. So the title of the video is Why Some Women Fall in Love with Convicted Killers, Chris Watts, Luigi Mangione, and Richard Ramirez. Now, I will say two of the three of these killers are very different type of killers. Richard Ramirez is a sadistic serial killer who also violated children and women. Chris Watts is a family annihilator. Luigi Mangione is he pleaded guilty to the killing of a CEO, right? So a what is it? United Health. I think it's what it was. So definitely very different killers. Okay, very different types. So I don't know if lumping them in together will really give us an accurate analysis because, again, right, very different types. I mean, falling in love with Chris Watts and falling in love with Richard Ramirez is a special type of psychology, in my opinion, because, I mean, you're falling in love with a man who was sadistic, right? Who would break into people's homes and stab them and murder them brutally. Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife and children, right? So very different caliber of killer. Luigi Mangione has never harmed a child, and he has never harmed women. He has never broken into women's homes to harm them. And so, again, very different type of killer. Let's go ahead and continue.
That is a tall order you just gave me, Mike. And I think that it's probably more complicated than it seems on the surface because as a psychologist, as opposed to me asking, what is it about this woman who's interested in this criminal, it's almost like what needs would somebody get met by being with somebody who's in prison for life that they're not going to get met in other ways. Because at the end of the day, we are in relationships to get our needs met and hopefully to help somebody else meet their needs. And I think
Right, exactly. I agree with this sentiment, right? We we are in relationships with people to get our needs met. So this is a question for all of you. What kind of needs are going to be met? Right? How is Chris going to meet those expectations that Lizzie Twats might have? So what type of needs is she being like why how are her needs being met? That's basically the question. How are her needs being met by Chris Watts being in prison? I mean, how is this even possible? How? Not that it matters, but do they examine people who marry if she's would it matter? Not it matters, but do they examine people who marry? What do you mean? Would it matter? I'm not understanding the question. Yeah, but when we're talking about Chris Watts, right? How is he going to help with Lizzie Twats's needs? How's that even going to happen? Anyways, let's continue.
when you look at that, it can be a little more diverse than we think that it is. So there's of course the whole issue with hybristophilia, which is a disorder that is somewhat recognized. It's pretty thin in terms of the research behind it, but it's somebody who is actually attracted to somebody who commits a crime. So the crime itself is a draw to that person. Now I can tell you that there's nothing new about women and men, but of course, given that most offenders are men, there's nothing new about women being attracted to people behind bars. I mean, Jack the Ripper, people, I mean, not Jack the Ripper, some of the, you can look at some of the infamous criminals throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
Never caught Jack the Ripper, but you'll find records 200 years ago of women throwing their handkerchiefs and coming to the trials and
Right.
fainting over the infamous criminal. So this is something that is not new to our society. We're more aware of it because we see it and we read about it and we
Right.
hear about it. So there is, I think there are for a small number of people there's this attraction, and I think so. Then why would that person be attracted? Because a person committed a crime? Well, it could be because this person, in some respects, is kind of fulfilling this deep desire that person has on some level. So they're kind of by association experiencing that. I think sometimes
Hmm.
it is this kind of rescue fantasy.
Oh,
This
right.
person needs help. This person is obviously suffering. There must
Interesting, right? These are all the things that we've talked about already. We've talked about this. Is it the bad boy? Is it because Chris is a bad boy, right? Is this what she's going after? Oh, he's a bad boy. He's a murderer. The other thing is, oh, they feel that they can save this man. Oh, I'm the only one that can save him. Oh, I can help him get through his issues. I can help him never murder anybody ever again. I mean, come on. These are all delusional ways of thinking.
be a reason this person did this. I'm going to be the savior. I'm going to help this person.
Right.
I mean, it can also, I think, and I think this is particularly true in the Chris Watts case, he has represented himself as an extremely religious man. For years at this point, he has really built his prison identity, from my understanding and from everything that I've read. I have not spoken to him directly. Let me be clear about that. That he is somebody, I think, who has put spirituality and religion first and foremost in terms of who he is. When he's communicating with the public in his letters, with his cellie, this has kind of been his presentation. So think about the redemption story that would offer somebody. So it's not necessarily that I'm interested in this person because they killed their wife and their children. Who would do that? No, who would be interested in somebody like that? But
Exactly.
this is somebody who deserves a second chance, because you know what? And this is what I'm telling you what I think somebody might tell themselves, not what I believe necessarily. But that person no longer exists, Mike. That person is gone. The Chris Watts who would do this doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
Now this is the Chris Watts. This is the Chris Watts who's found God, who's given himself to Jesus, who is doing the best he can with what life has given him, which of course we know these are the choices that he made. And
exactly.
so we need to be able to recognize that this is the Chris Watts I know, the religious Chris Watts, the spiritual Chris Watts. And how special is it that this person knows now the real Chris Watts when everybody else thinks he's this monster still?
That is so interesting. Isn't that crazy, guys? The psychology that goes into this. That is so interesting. It's that Lizzie might not even be seeing Chris as the family annihilator because he's not that anymore. That is so interesting. Yeah, he's not that anymore because he already annihilated the only family that he had. So he has become a different man altogether. So the Chris Watts that currently exists in prison is a God-fearing man, right? He is a religious man. He is a man who has found Jesus, but he only found Jesus in prison after murdering his family. And so, yeah, technically that does make him a different person. It does make him a different man. But normal people, right? Logical, rational people don't just take what the person is showing us currently. We also take what they have shown us in the past. Chris Watts is a family annihilator. We will never forget that he's a family annihilator because he murdered his family. And so, should we then forget everything that this man did in his past just because he's a new man now? No, because the only reason that he is a new man now is because he landed in prison. So the only reason he found Jesus to begin with is because he's in prison and he has nothing better to do. He is forced to turn to religion, whichever religion that was for him. He ended up choosing, it seems like, Christianity. And so, of all of the religions, he ended up choosing one that was the most convenient for him. And so, even given that, I would argue that prisoners shouldn't even have the right to religion. They shouldn't. Why? Why is a convicted 4-time family annihilator allowed to have a Bible in prison? That doesn't make them a better person. It just makes them a hypocrite. All of a sudden, right? How convenient. Oh, how convenient. Let me just turn to God. Let me just turn to Jesus, and then hopefully I get all of my sins forgiven, and then I can go to heaven to be with my victims, the ones that I annihilated. I mean, how does that work? I mean, how convenient is it, right, for a killer to then turn to Jesus, have all of his sins forgiven so that he can end up in heaven with the same victims that he killed? I mean, how much sense does that make? So, no, he shouldn't even be allowed religion. No, none of these killers should be allowed any religion in prison. But I do want to ask you all a question. What do we think? Given all of the the examples that she gave us, what do we think is going on with Lizzie? Here, let's go ahead and just ask the question. What is the most likely, or actually, let's go ahead and ask another question. Okay, what is likely happening with Lizzie Twats? Okay, so she likes the bad boy appeal. She likes bad boys. She thinks she can save him, right? So she thinks she's his savior. What's the other one? So she likes bad boys. She thinks she's his savior. What's the other one? Oh, she thinks he's a completely changed man, right? Oh, Chris Watts is a completely changed man. Oh, he's a changed man. He is not the man that murdered his family. Yeah, no shit, because he's in prison. He can't murder any more families. Who else is he going to murder? I mean, given the opportunity to get out and meet another Nicole Kessinger, I'm sure that he would probably murder his family all over again. Okay, oh, there we go. Fame. Fame was the last one. Okay, and then the last one is fame and attention. Yes, fame and attention. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start this poll. You guys let me know what you think. Yeah, she thinks he's a completely changed man. That is so ridiculous. Perhaps she is not a discerning and realistic person. That is very true, Lucia. Yeah, that's very true. It could just be that she's just not a rational person. Which is strange, right? Given that she was a realtor. Okay, what is likely happening with Lizzie Twats? She likes bad boys. She thinks she's his savior. Chris Watts is a changed man, or fame and attention. Look at that. 68% of you think that she just wants fame and attention. Wow. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's fame, right? It's fame. Okay. All right, guys, let's go ahead and continue.
O's now, the real Chris Watts, when everybody else thinks he's this monster still.
Interesting. And, so I want to come back to each of these individually, and then I want to focus a little bit on this forgiveness or redemption kind of mentality. And
Yes, yes, I really want to focus on the redemption mentality because I don't understand this part. I really don't. I try my best, but I just don't understand it. There's no way that this man is actually redeeming. Like there isn't a single redeeming quality in Chris Watts. There isn't.
thank you for calling me out on something right at the very beginning, because it is important that we say
Oh my
there
goodness, what is
are
happening?
men flocking to the Jodi Ariases out there, or other women who have been involved in serious crimes. And so, but the majority, obviously, because the majority of killers, it seems, or really bad guys, seem to be men. And the focus then goes to women. And of course, much of
Right. Yes, it does happen to men as well, but since the majority of killers happen to be men, um it just so happens that it is mostly women who end up falling in love with these psycho killer men, since yeah, the majority of murderers happen to be men.
the audience of true crime consumers are women. And I've often wondered, in fact, Greg Cooper and I have had this discussion many times over the years, of the fact of what is the attraction? Is it that they are hoping that they can fix somebody, or is it that they're trying to figure out so that they can minimize their own risk of being victimized by someone like this? What are the reasons why they're so attracted? But I want to go back to the very first one.
That's a really good question. Why is it that we are so into true crime? Is it because we are trying to figure out how to protect ourselves? I think that's actually a part of it, right? I think a part of it is that we are drawn to true crime because it happens. It can happen to anybody, right? When we watch a lot of these cases and we read about these women's lives and the family dynamic and how perfect it was, right? Picture perfect. And then we see that they can end up murdered by someone that looks like Chris Watts. I think it really there's this almost a morbid interest in it, right? And so I think that we are just interested in it because it's so unbelievable to us. I mean, it really is still. Even though there have been so many men that have annihilated their families for other women, it's still very unbelievable to us that a man would do this to his family just to be with another woman. And I think, yeah, I think another part of it is because we want to educate ourselves, right? I think the more we know, the better we are at protecting ourselves. What do you guys think? Yeah, what do you guys think? Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, exactly. Because it's real. And we're trying to learn and be more aware. Yes, Caroline. Yes. Yeah, exactly. One of the most common things in being forgiven is to be sorry for what you've done. Doesn't show any place where he looks sorry for what he's done. Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Yeah, there's Chris Watts definitely shows no remorse for any of the things that he has done, right? At all, at all. Um, okay, I don't think that Eileen Ornos we're getting. Oh, right, exactly, Anders. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Eileen Warnos was getting many love letters from men. No, she wasn't. She really wasn't. All right, guys. Yeah, let's go ahead and continue. We're going to have another poll. I want to have another poll, but right now, let's go ahead and I'm going to leave it up. We only have 47 votes. So let's go ahead and leave it up and continue.
One, this idea of attraction. And I wondered if you could maybe explore that a little deeper, because for any of us who are trying to put on a common sense hat,
Yes.
there's nothing attractive about someone who kills their wife, an unborn child, and two children, and then continues to lie about it.
Yeah, exactly. What is so attractive about a liar that murdered his whole entire family? Not only that, but what is attractive about Chris Watts? What his head, the shape of it, the fur that is barely hanging onto his scalp, his twirling eyeball, his long torso, his short legs. I mean, what is it about him that is attractive? None of it. Not even his brain, right? We can't say, "Oh, he's attractive because he's so intelligent." No. We can't even say, "Oh, he's attractive because he's so charismatic." No. He has the personality of a wet mop. I mean, I'd rather watch paint dry than talk to Chris about NASCAR and sports. I mean, come on, I'd rather stab my own eyes out than have to talk to Chris about any of that. So, what is so attractive about Chris other than he is a famous family annihilator? So, I see why you guys are voting for fame and attention. It's because I think that's really the only thing that is attractive about this guy is that he is famous, infamous, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think obviously 99.99999 infinity of people in the that we know that we don't know would agree with you.
Yeah, anybody in their right mind would agree with this, right? Yeah, she's a potato enthusiast, right? Potato lumps. Yeah, unless you are just absolutely obsessed with potatoes, I don't see the attraction to Chris. I mean, if I could make vodka out of Chris's brains, then maybe I'd be attracted, right? I would have infinity of vodka for the rest of my life. Or maybe if I can make some fries out of it or some morning potatoes with my eggs, right? I need to be getting something out of it. But what could you possibly be getting about or from Chris being in prison and eating his mackerel spread? Well, he makes like 10 cents a day. What can you possibly get out of the man? Nothing.
But I think when you're looking, you think about, okay, why would somebody be attracted to somebody who has done something so horrific? Um, you again, you I can give you three possibilities. One is denial; he didn't really do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing that we
Yes.
see, right? Not as often, but certainly with Richard Ramirez, Doreen Leoy, who married him and was married to him for many, many years, absolutely refused to believe.
What? Richard Ramirez's wife refused to believe that he was a sadistic murderer? Oh, see, these women are insane. Those are actually just very delusional, clearly mentally ill women. How on earth are you going to look at Richard Ramirez and think that he's a normal person? He's disgusting.
That he did it, despite all evidence to the contrary. And as a matter of fact, she did not leave him and divorce him until 2009. They were married in 1996. They were together since, I think, 1985, until in 2009, DNA evidence proved that he had murdered a 9-year-old child. And at that point, she could no longer deny. And I don't know what was different about that than all the other evidence that was.
Yeah, exactly. How? Okay, so she needed DNA evidence that he brutalized a 9-year-old child? She needed that much evidence to say, "Oh, you know what? I think Richard Ramirez isn't my type." Do we know who Richard Ramirez is, you guys? Do we know who he is? Here, let's go ahead and look up that disgusting animal. I mean, he's dead now, thank God. He was a piece of shit. Yeah, the guy, absolute vile, disgusting human being. This guy, Richard Ramirez. Without really getting too much into it, he's the Night Stalker. Okay, he's the Night Stalker. Fun fact, he terrorized people in the 80s. He terrorized people. And he terrorized people in LA, right? In LA County. So, if for those of you who don't know, I'm originally from LA. I was born in LA. My mom has crazy stories about this guy, the Night Stalker, being out in LA in the 80s and all the things that my parents had to do. They were locking their doors, they were closing windows. My mom was so actively afraid of this man that she has so many crazy stories surrounding it. But I just think it's crazy because I mean, it hits close to home. My own parents were afraid of this man because, yeah, he was terrorizing LA in the 80s. I mean, imagine that. But yes, he is just a vile and disgusting human being. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, his killing spree ended when citizens, right? Random citizens saw him in the streets and they start beating the shit out of him. And finally the cops got him and he was brought to justice. So because of us, think the society that we live in the 80s that came forward and I think it was the 90s when he was actually caught. Yeah, everybody came forward and started, throwing rocks at him and started chasing after him, and so eventually the police caught on. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. It is so crazy. See, and imagine having women that are writing to that man. Wow. All right, guys, let's continue.
Presented, but maybe she had changed. I don't know. But at that point, she was like, "You did it." I mean, it was like a revelation to her. It's hard to imagine in a way there's that much denial. And I think the other thing that kind of contributes to that, Mike, a little bit is in that situation is you think about it. Here is, I'm going to say Doreen, and we'll get to Chris's girlfriend, I guess, in a minute, but Doreen, her whole family completely turned their back on her when she began a relationship with Richard Ramirez. It was very embarrassing to them. It was humiliating. They got all this unwanted public attention. We can all understand that. What it also does, though, is what? It becomes us against them.
Yeah, very interesting. It's similar to what's happening to Lizzie Twats, right? Her family is so against Chris and Lizzie getting married. They're like, "What the hell is wrong with her? Like, what is wrong with my sister?" Said the sister of Lizzie Twats. So yeah, it really does put us in an us against them because what is wrong with her? Why is she in love with Chris?
Yeah, and when you put all your chips on a certain horse, it takes a lot of courage to step up and say, I was duped or I was wrong or I didn't want to admit that I was wrong. All of those things. I don't know if you're aware. I actually interviewed Richard Ramirez quite a few times, and the author of the book, The Night Stalker, Philip Carlo, is a personal friend of mine. Phil's deceased now, but Phil is the one who, over dinner one night in Florida, he and I were talking. I was telling him about my great great grandmother, the book I ended up writing about her murder in 1891. And he's the one that demanded that I write this book. In fact, he's in the foreword talking about this book has to be written. But the thing about Phil Carlo is he spent probably more time with Richard Ramirez in preparing and writing that book, and then was asked by Richard to be the best man, but Richard Ramirez's brother showed up to the wedding at the
Wow.
last minute. And so he stepped in as best man, and Phil just documented things. But he said all along that he couldn't resolve in his own mind whether she really believed what she was saying or not, but that she had put all her chips on the table.
Mm-hmm. And then that becomes, we know very well, psychology is cognitive dissonance, right? I mean, that's true in many relationships.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance. I think that's what's going on with a lot of these women is they have cognitive dissonance. Their brain is clearly telling them, "Hey, I think you should stay away from this man because he is dangerous." But then the other side of their brain is really blocking those survival instincts that we have as human beings, right? As a human race, the human species, we have survival instincts, and so our brain is telling us, how about you avoid that dangerous man? And yet they are ignoring every one of those signals that their brain is letting them know, like, hey, stay away from this man. Yeah, that is cognitive dissonance. They somehow still try to explain it away.
You know, you put all your eggs in one basket, like you said, and the more you invest and the more you have to give up, you know, to be in that relationship, the harder it is to get out of it. So there's so many incentives then to tell yourself that story or keep telling yourself that story, no matter what evidence starts creeping in or what doubts you have. It's almost like I got to close that door. I got to keep that door closed because I got too much at stake here.
So, Doc, there's a little bit of a change between Richard Ramirez and the era of time when his crimes were occurring versus Chris Watts
Right.
and a period in social media worlds where so much more evidence comes out.
Exactly.
Um, I could say, okay, unless you were sitting in the trial for Richard Ramirez, you may not see some of the physical evidence. You may not hear the testimony of the people who survived. But when we move fast forward to the digital age we're in today, what is it in the psyche that allows someone to say, even with all this compelling evidence, I refuse to believe?
Right. That is such a good question. Because okay, sure, I understand how someone in the 80s or 90s might fall in love with Richard Ramirez, which I don't understand. I mean, we still had TV. We still had television, so you can still watch it. You still have newspapers, you can still read about it. But yeah, a very different time. We didn't have social media, we didn't have TikTok, YouTube, all these things that constantly show you the news. And so, yeah, I can definitely understand maybe falling in love or being attracted to killers in the 80s and 90s where you had less of the visibility that we have now. But now, in the digital age, we have access to all of the evidence. I mean, we have gone through an entire year of just watching footage and trying to figure out, where was Nicole Kessinger involved because we have so much evidence on it. And so, why is it so different? Why is it that even in 2026, when Lizzie Twats has every single resource available to her to look up Chris, she still is in denial. She still refuses to see that Chris Watts is a family annihilator, even though all of the evidence is in front of her face. I mean, all she has to do is open YouTube. All she has to do is open Twitter or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, and she'll see herself plastered all over the news. So it's so weird that in this day and age, she still ignores all of the evidence.
I think I would be surprised that there are many people who write to high profile convicted murderers who don't know that person's guilty. There may be a few, but I think you're absolutely right, Mike. I think it's much harder today to ignore all the evidence because you see it. And if you
Exactly.
don't see it, you hear about it.
Yeah.
People are talking about it. I mean, true crime is, people is everywhere. So you're, even if you don't want to hear it, you're hearing it. So I don't
Yeah,
think
exactly. True crime is everywhere. So even if you don't want to hear it, you're still hearing it. Right? You can be scrolling on Instagram and looking at food, right? Like, oh, I'm a foodie. Let me look at this food. And then all of a sudden you see Chris Watts' face. You can't ignore it. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. Self-denial. Yeah, she wants 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, so okay, look at this. 68 votes in, and we have 62% of you think that she just wants fame. Look at that. Fame and attention, 62%. She thinks that she's his savior, 18%. Chris Watts is a changed man, 12%. And of course, she likes bad boys, 8%. Oh my goodness. I can't. Okay, Richard was a total coward. Oh, yes, he was. Yes, he definitely was. All right, guys, let's continue. I'll have another poll for you guys here soon.
think we see as much of that anymore. That it's that, I somehow wasn't in the trial and I can somehow buffer myself from really looking at this or examining this. I think it then becomes more of a either, there's a practical part of, well, this person's in prison. They're not going to get out of prison. I know where they are all the time. I can get all their attention. They can write me letters and letters every day. They have nothing else to do. I mean, there's a practical part of that
Right.
relationship, which I don't think that's a primary driver, but it certainly could be something that keeps that relationship going. This person can continue to be any fantasy that I want him to be, because I'm never going to have to confront anything other than that. And I think a lot of times when people first start writing somebody in prison, they may do because they find them physically attractive, or they think I'm curious. I'm just going to just try to get this person's story, or they're kind of putting their toe in the water. They're not necessarily thinking I'm going to marry this person. They might be like, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to actually write this person a letter. I mean, we've known people. I mean, there was a psychologist. This is different. There was a psychologist in a prison that I worked in who fell in love with an inmate and ended up getting her license revoked. That's the other part of it.
Yes.
We underestimate sometimes how skillful some of these perpetrators are.
That is so crazy. Yes, that is so true. I was reading an article about a lady who fell in love with an inmate, and she was a corrections officer. She fell in love with an inmate in prison. He is behind bars, and he's the one controlling her and manipulating her. So, yeah, Jerry, I agree. I agree with what you just said. Another thought, she may just have very, very low self-esteem, and she can't find somebody else on the outside. I think that's very true. I mean, that is true of this corrections officer who fell in love with this inmate. I mean, she had very low self-esteem. She fell in love with the inmate because, I mean, he's in prison. He can't do anything to her. He can't harm her. So, yeah, I think a part of it is just they feel a lot safer, I think, with an inmate. It's so weird. But yeah, her license ended up getting revoked. And crazy, he ended up really controlling her life from inside the prison, which is kind of hard to imagine.
Somebody starts writing them, right? And they start grooming, right? They start grooming that person. And that person may really believe, oh, this person's cute. I really like this person, or I'm going to see, it'd be so exciting. I'm going to find out what really happened or had this insight. And then what happens? This person starts getting drawn in. They keep getting drawn in, and then before long, they're giving up everything for this person. So there's a lot of reasons I think that those relationships start, and then it becomes what fuels them. And then there's, like we said at the very beginning, there's the whole redemption part of it, right? There's the person where I can save this person, and this person, if somebody just loved them enough, or if somebody joined this person on their spiritual path. I'm going to help. I'm going to help Chris on his spiritual journey, or maybe I'm on a spiritual journey.
Oh my God. Okay, there we go. This is the question I wanted to ask. Do any of you think that Chris Watts is redeemable? Is there redemption for Chris? Is there redemption for Twister for Twats? Okay, that is going to be the question. And what kind? I mean, come on. What kind of redemption would this guy get? He murdered his family. Okay, so let's go ahead and do... Okay, and then let's go ahead and do another one. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to have 3 options here. I'm just going to do 3 options because this is the interesting one. Because if he is redeemable, okay, then that means that a lot of these women think that he is redeemable. So I would be interested to understand that psychology as well. Here, let's go ahead and start this poll. The question is there any redemption for Chris Watts? Yes, no, absolutely not. My answer is absolutely not at the very end. All right, guys, let's continue.
And I believe that forgiveness is the tenet of my faith. And so I'm finding out that Chris is this religious guy, and the old Chris doesn't exist anymore. There's all kinds of, I think, reasons that are either genuine or they're stories that somebody tells themselves. And I think sometimes that can be very blurry,
right?
Because of how that is.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Listen to you. I would like to know your opinion in regard to, as you start to step into this mode of being a rescuer, a manipulator that takes advantage of that still maintains control, don't they, in the relationship by saying, yes, I am repentant. I am trying to move forward. I am in need of rescue. You are the one who has given me a new vision of what to do next. How dangerous is that for everyone?
That is a perfect description of how.
That is so crazy. It is dangerous. It is so dangerous. Oh, oh my goodness. This is so crazy. Yeah, he uses the Bible to try and manipulate the narrative in his favor. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I definitely agree with that. Maybe he's redeemable in the opinion of Father God, but it takes a lot of asking for forgiveness and coming to terms with everything he'll never do. Exactly. So yeah, so don't expect to see him in heaven. See, the thing is, I mean, even if he does actually feel sorry and he really does pray and ask for forgiveness, is he still redeemable? That's the question. Right? And so then if that's the case, then every single murderer is redeemable. So then what's the point? Right? If every single murderer begs for forgiveness and they actually do thoroughly repent, then that means that they're all redeemable. So then what we're really seeing here is just that they are taken away from society and then put away into a prison. And so, yeah, I guess, yes, that's my question. So no earthly redemption, I guess, would be the real question. Is that what we're really asking then? The earthly redemption? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You guys have such a good insight here. Okay, if he was really repentant, wouldn't be doing everything he could to make things better. Yes, exactly, and do everything in his power to clear Shanann's name and honor and his children. I agree, exactly. If Tots was in heaven, I imagine I managed to get there. I'll be asking for a ticket to hell. I don't want to be in the same place as him. Yeah, exactly, V-Bug. I mean, right, that is the question I'm asking. If Chris Watts ends up in heaven and I never murdered 4 people, how is that fair? How is it fair that none of us in chat has murdered 2 children, an unborn child and a woman, and we all end up in the same place as him just because he asked for forgiveness? How is that fair? Yeah, exactly, yep, no earthly redemption. Yeah, but he's moving the hell and ignoring, and he claims yeah, just words of lip service. Exactly, exactly. Oh my god, yeah, love it. Okay, you guys have so much good insight here. Alright, guys, let's continue.
That can work. Where you do have somebody who is compassionate. You may have somebody who is genuinely wanting to help this person. This person sees this need for redemption. This person, they're reaching out maybe initially to help the lost and help this person see that there's a better way. And I know you've done this horrible thing, or which is interesting because I think a lot of times what I would imagine would happen is maybe this person knows what this person has done, but over time they start distancing themselves from the
Mhm.
words they use to describe that. I was reading an interview with Lizzie before we were talking today, and
Okay, here we go. Okay, we're gonna get into Lizzie, and we're gonna get into the understanding, okay? Because again, I really, really want to understand this idea that if he is a changed and redeemed man, then that means he's a different person. So then it means that none of us should be hating him, right? We should all be, oh, it's okay. It's okay that Chris did these things. As long as he asked for forgiveness, we shouldn't hate him. Well, what does that do then to all the things that he did to his family? What, it just completely erases everything? But not in this lifetime. Yep. Um, it ain't fair. It's not fair. Twat's getting married and NK is still free. There's no justice. Exactly, V-Bug. Exactly. It requires okay that and yes, a more fake Chris Watts's position. Yeah, I'm seeing. Oh my goodness. Oh, someone used it. As it looks rough. Pancake. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and continue.
the words, I'm trying to think what the words that she used were. She said something about, I didn't know the people, I want to be very respectful of them. But she talked about something and she made it almost seem like she didn't say it was tragic, but it was just kind of an underword it was the word that she used to describe what happened was so much less heinous, so much less violent, so much less in some ways accurate, then we all know the details of this crime. And I'm thinking, how could you not? If you want to maintain that relationship, start in your mind somehow distancing yourself from what this person has done.
Mm-hmm.
Is it survival, Dr. Johnston? I mean, is it her survival?
I
Yeah.
think it is what you were talking about. Now we have somebody who has, from everything that I've read, and I think you have too, she's moved, she's changed states, she's now relocated states to be near Chris Watts. She's visited him, as you pointed out, over about 2 dozen times in prison. She has changed her name. They have applied for a marriage license. So is this survival? It may be. No, it's a way to stay in that relationship.
Interesting. Interesting. God, you guys have so many good things. And yes, I love it. I love hearing from all perspectives, guys. I really love reading what you guys are. Yes. See, exactly. We can't see what's in Chris Watts's heart, but we can definitely see his actions. Okay, that is the one thing that we can definitely see. His actions, to me, don't show that he's trying to repent. That is the one thing I will say. Chris is an absolute hypocrite. I agree that Chris Watts is not using religion as a way to really fully ask for forgiveness. He's not really repenting. He, like many of these family annihilators and killers in prison, use religion as a way to manipulate people. People who really do take religion as a part of their life, right? People who really do forgive others. And so because of that, they're using that religion to be able to manipulate not only friends and family, but also the system itself. Because if you can prove that you are this new person and oh, I'm redeemable and oh, I've begged for forgiveness and whatnot, and I'm a changed man, then yeah, I mean, you are giving the impression that you're a changed person. And so by just seeing that action in and of itself, to me, is very hypocritical because it's not like he's actually repenting. He still hasn't told us the truth. So he hasn't told anybody the truth. He hasn't told the Ruseks the truth. He hasn't told Rourke the truth. He hasn't told anybody the truth. So, no. I mean, he's using religion to his benefit, not really as a way to repent or as a way to ask for forgiveness, because we would have already seen the truth. One of the reasons that he was spared from the death penalty was because the whole point of this was so that he can give Shanann's family closure. They thought that by giving him the opportunity to live out the rest of his miserable life in prison, that he would then tell the truth and give Shanann's family closure. However, he hasn't done that yet. He still hasn't told anybody the truth about what happened that night. He hasn't fully admitted to killing his family and how he did it and who was involved. So that alone tells us that this man is not repentant. And so he's a hypocrite. What do we think? All right, guys, let's go ahead and end the last poll. Look at this. Oh my goodness, you guys are so amazing. One thing can be for sure. If he got away with it and ran off with the yoga witch, he could not. Oh, he would not have become a Christian. I think what he got away and ran away with the yoga witch, he would not have become a Christian. Yes, that is so true, boobs. Yeah, that's very true. Okay. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. Okay, let's go ahead and ask this question. God, I already forgot the question. I already forgot the question. It's just, man, I love it. Okay, a lot of narcissists come to be Christian, but they also really use it as a way to control. Exactly. Yeah, they care about how they are perceived. Yes, you guys, yes. See, as someone who grew up, I'm going to bring in my own personal experience here just as a way of describing how I see a lot of this, right? My perspective. As someone who grew up with religious trauma, I'm being completely honest here, I grew up Catholic, and I grew up with a lot of religious trauma because my mom used religion. Imagine, picture Carrie. Are you guys aware with the movie Carrie? Carrie, um, what's her name? Yeah, she like gets dumped, pig blood all over her. Picture that mother, okay, in the movie Carrie. Now, picture her just a little less extreme, okay? So maybe not as horror, but definitely a little similar to that lady. That is what my mom was like. My mom was incredibly vicious. She's a narcissist. She has NPD, bipolar disorder, and a whole bunch of other personality disorders, my mother. And she used religion as a way to control the family around her. She used religion to be able to manipulate and control every single person in that house. And she did it in such a vicious and vile way that, yeah, I grew up with a ton of religious trauma because of her. But yes, it's not even that my mom is religious, because she isn't. She doesn't actually believe in any of this. But she used it as a way to manipulate people because she knew that myself, right, being a child, being in Catholic school and learning about all of this, I believed everything that my mom told me. And so the things that she would tell me, she would then tell me, oh, well, the reason that I'm beating the shit out of you is because you're an evil child. And God is telling me that you're fucking evil. And so that's why I'm beating the shit out of you. And so I would believe it. I'd be like, oh my God, like, why am I so evil though? Like, what did I do? Like, I'm 5 years old. What could I have done? Right. But she's telling me, oh, well, God told me that you're evil. So I'm going to beat the shit out of you and punish you for it. And of course I believed it because I'm like, oh my God, I guess someone is telling her this, right? And as a 5-year-old, you believe it because it's your mother that is telling you this. And so, yeah, I definitely see how religion is used to manipulate people, and it's used by narcissists. And Chris Watts himself is an absolute narcissist, and I can see the same hypocritical use of religion for his own benefit. So crazy. But anyways, guys, okay, I'm going to ask you guys this question. I'm going to ask you guys all this question. I already forgot the question. I'm so terrible, you guys. I already forgot the question. How is it? Why is my brain doing this? Maybe I just haven't had enough coffee this morning or something. Oh, right. That was the question. Do we think that Chris Watts is a hypocrite? Right? Are the actions that Chris is showing us, are those actions telling us that he's a hypocrite? Or do we really think that he's trying his very best to ask for forgiveness? That is going to be the question. Okay, so the question is Chris Watts a hypocrite or really seeking forgiveness, right? Is he really seeking forgiveness? Okay, no. He's a manipulative. Okay, and then the other one's going to be, let's go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, let's go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just go ahead and say that he's trying, but he's not trying hard enough. Can we do that? All right, guys, let's go ahead and start this poll. Okay, yeah, that's an easy one. All right, is Chris Watts a hypocrite or really seeking forgiveness? Oh, I guess the way I worded the question is kind of weird, huh? Oops. So yeah, the answer is yes, he's seeking forgiveness. No, he's a manipulative narc, right? A narcissist. Or C, he's trying. He's trying. All right, guys. Wow. Yeah, you guys have a lot of good insight. You guys have a lot of good insight. Very, very good. You guys are amazing. Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh man. Guys, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. My mom is crazy. I mean, oh my goodness. I can probably start a whole channel just talking about childhood PTSD. Yeah, my yeah, my mother is brutal. She was brutal. I mean, she continues to be. She really does still try to control and manipulate her grown children. I'm the only one that she hasn't managed to manipulate because I live far away because I've actually physically took myself away from that household by joining the Marine Corps. I joined the military specifically to get the hell away from that home. It was brutal and it still continues to be. All right, guys, let's continue.
So it might be a relationship survival strategy, how she can find a way to kind of make it okay for her to marry somebody who's done this horrible thing. I think that's part of the story, just like would be part of the story for us to say, again, this isn't Chris, but this isn't the old Chris. That Chris is gone. He's now saved. He's now a child of God.
Right.
So I'm going to see him that way. I don't really want to look at this other part though.
So
Yes. This is so good. This is such a good, oh my God, you guys, this is such a good video. I'm so glad that we're watching this and that we're talking about it. I know it's very different from what we usually do, but this is important, guys, because I think it's important to understand the psychology of these people. And again, right? And understanding the trauma that goes behind falling in love with somebody like this. All right, guys, let's continue.
based on your experience, and frankly, have you ever conducted any research or any of your colleagues conducted research to see if there's any consistency in the background of the person on the outside, not the inmate? Have they experienced abuse or controlling relationships? And does having someone that's your new love or husband or wife that's confined to prison for the rest of their life just a safer way to be married and check a box?
I think there is some research that shows an overrepresentation of abuse, childhood abuse, and in women who have fallen for high profile killers or high profile predators. I don't think that necessarily the majority of them have, but I think it's certainly overrepresented, and I think there is certainly a safety part of it.
We were just talking about this. This is so crazy that childhood trauma does play a role into the psyche of a lot of these women. If you grow up in a very abusive household, and for example, right, again, perspective, I'm just bringing in my perspective. This is why I'm bringing in my own childhood. When you grow up and in a home where your own family, right, your own mother and your own father, the two people, the two adults that you know about that are your authority, right, the authority figure that are supposed to show you this is what love is, right? If those two people, the very two first people in your life, treat you a certain way, and you believe that that is love, you move on to a relationship where they also treat you poorly and you believe that that is love. Because what happens in the mind of a child? Children are so impressionable. I mean, our brains as children, it's tiny, right? And we as we grow, we learn more, right? The older you are, the more wisdom you gain, the more knowledge you gain, the more experience you have. And so if you're growing up and the only people in your life are your parents and they're brutalizing you and then they're telling you, "Oh yeah, I'm your parent and I love you," then your whole idea of love is completely screwed up. If your own family, right? If your own parents are mistreating you and these are the people that gave you life, these are the people that are working to put a roof over your head and to feed you, then you end up growing up believing that that is love. And so then you move that and you bring it to a relationship, and then that person also treats you as poorly as your parents did. Then you end up believing, oh, this is also love, I guess. Right. And so your whole perception of love is completely screwed up. You don't really know what love is. And so, yeah, I can definitely understand how someone with a lot of childhood trauma can confuse that as love, especially especially someone like Chris Watts, right? Because you grew up in such a traumatic childhood, such a traumatic household, I should say, and then you move on and you're going through life as an adult and you're going through a lot of different relationships, and all of them are terrible. Then you end up with Chris Watts, right? Chris Watts is in prison. He can't mistreat you. Okay. He can't raise his hands. He can't lay his hands on you. He can't scream at you. He can't belittle you or put you down in any way, shape, or form because he's behind bars. And so I do understand that this might lead to a little bit of safety, right? Because you are kind of away from that abuse and you have a partner who can't actually fully abuse you because they're behind bars. So I definitely understand the psychology behind this. This is so crazy. Oh my goodness. What do you guys think? I had good parents and still fell victim to a psychopath. They're all, yeah, they're good at what they do. Yeah, they can fool anyone. Yes. And see, this is the thing. Even if you have really good parents, right? Even if your parents didn't mistreat you, you can still fall victim to a psychopath because they're just so good at manipulating people. Yeah, that's a good point. So much of the way that people act is the way that they're brought up, good or bad. Exactly, Jerry. Yes. A lot of the way that we behave, it is because of our own upbringings, right? It's our own experiences, our own trauma. I mean, imagine a child like myself, for example. I grew up being very vigilant, right? I grew up in a very vigilant state of mind. I wasn't I didn't just wake up and was a happy child, right? And I'm just a happy-go-lucky, "Oh, let me go play outside with my chickens." No. Because for me, my home was not a safe place. And so every morning, I woke up with a heightened sense of awareness, right? I'm waking up and I'm looking at all of my surroundings, wondering, "Okay, is my mom in a good mood today or is she in a bad mood?" And so I mean, as a child, you're having to walk almost on eggshells, right? You're trying to figure out, is my mom going to be good today or is she going to be bad? And so every single day you wake up wondering if your mom's going to beat the shit out of you or not. And so yeah, that does something to your psyche. It messes up the way that you view society and the way that you view the rest of the people. It really messes with who you can trust. It messes with your own self-worth and your own self-esteem because you have grown up with a very different wiring in your brain. It is so crazy, you guys. Um, yeah, exactly. But if he got out, it would be a completely different story. Yep. I fell victim to a narcissist. Oh, you guys. To grow up in an environment that's full of danger like that gives you PTSD, and it's almost yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you grow up in a household like that, you do have PTSD, right? You do end up with post traumatic stress disorder because you are constantly on high alert, which is why I was very successful in the Marine Corps. Okay, I will say. I know I've said this before, and I know it's not funny to use my past experience as something for good, but yeah, again, as twisted as my brain was prior to therapy, I believed that even the way that I grew up was a good thing because I think it made me a stronger person. I was able to get through Marine Corps boot camp and then again through Coast Guard boot camp because I was like, oh, this is easy for me, right? A drill instructor yelling at my face to me was nothing compared to growing up in my mom's home for 18 years. It was a cakewalk. All right, guys, let's continue.
I mean, in a weird kind of way, this just occurred to me. It's going to be probably a terrible analogy, but when people talk about true crime, sometimes they'll talk about um, it's a controlling fear. They'll say, when I'm watching a true crime show, it's like I'm safe, but I'm experiencing like I'm controlling this scary experience. It's safe because I'm here. This isn't about me. This is about what happened to these individuals. I can learn how to be safer. I can learn how to, what to do, what not to do. I can also relieve some of my anxiety that I might have by watching this tension and the discharging. And certainly, if you are, if there's this person who has history of violence, a history of predatory behavior, but this person is safe in the sense that they're locked up. They're not going to be released from prison
Exactly.
ever. And there have been some tragic stories of people who have been in a relationship and they were released and then murdered the person they're in a relationship with.
Oh,
So you're
God.
much better off, safety wise, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody who's, has a history of extreme violence, to be in a relationship with somebody who's never going to get out.
In a video I did last week where I talked about the fact that where Chris Watts is one of the states that does not allow things like conjugal visits. And I mentioned, and I can't remember the name of the victim in the case. It was an African American woman who linked up, got married to a guy in prison, and then he murdered her during a conjugal visit in the
Ah,
prison.
what?
And again, even in the most controlled
What? Who? Oh my God. Okay, I have to listen to this again.
things like conjugal visits. And I mentioned, and I can't remember the name of the victim in the case. It was an African American woman who linked up, got married to a guy in prison, and then he murdered her during a conjugal visit in the prison. And again, even in the most controlled
What?
circumstance, the spots on many leopards don't change.
That's really true. I wish.
No way. I have to look this up. There is no way. What? Have you guys heard of this? Holy moly. Who? Ugh, what in the world? Oh, there is no way. There is no way. There's numerous people. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is so crazy. Okay, here, I just want to show you all. This is so nuts. Okay, so look at this. Two women. Two women, including 62-year-old. Oh, you guys can't see it. Including 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles were strangled in separate incidents during conjugal visits at Mule Creek State Prison in California. A 47-year-old was found dead in 2024 during an overnight visit with Anthony Curry, an inmate serving life sentence. Her death was later ruled a homicide by strangulation. Oh my goodness. This is so crazy. See, imagine this. This is so sad. Wow. Guys, that is so crazy. Yeah, he killed 4 people with his bare hands. No way he'd be left alone with someone. Oh, I mean, that's what we like to think, right? As we would like to think that he's not gonna be left alone with somebody. This is so unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, I don't believe that Chris Watts would murder somebody again, unless it's for Nicole Kessinger. I don't think that if he were to be left alone that he would murder a woman. He's not gonna murder Lizzie Watts. Twats, I should say, sorry. There's a T in front of the W, so it's not silent. So I don't think he would murder her because the only reason that he murdered his family to begin with was to be with another woman. So for Chris Watts, in my opinion, it's because he was desperate. So he's not a full-fledged psychopath like the guys that we're looking up, right? Like he's not like Richard Ramirez. Ugh. He's still disgusting, of course. He's still one of the worst killers ever because he killed his own child, right? Children, I should say. All 3 children. All right, guys, let's continue.
I can think of the name of there was a guy who, a woman was also involved in a relationship. I'm not remembering his name. It'll probably come to me after we continue, finish our
Or at 2
talk.
o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
exactly. I'll go, oh, Mike, it was this person. And he murdered not only her, but her mother as well. When he got
Oh my goodness.
he was released. So you're absolutely right. The other thing that I thought was interesting is I thought I had read that Wisconsin not only was a state that didn't allow conjugal visits, but they also require, as part of this marriage license process, that the complete crimes be disclosed to the person who is part of that marriage license to prevent there being any, shall we say, misinformation being presented by the perpetrator at the time.
So is that automatically a denial of a wedding or a marriage certificate if you have someone like Watts who continues to deny that he did this?
No,
Oh,
the way I interpreted that, Mike, is not that. Is it would be like, for example, let's say, in other words, she's going to be presented this, and this is my reading of it. So she's going to be presented with the facts of the case and what he was convicted of to make sure that she understands what he was convicted of and what the facts were against him. So it's not that he has to come and say, I did it. Or it's that they want to make sure he's not telling her that I'm in here for whatever, or, really, Shanann did this. I
oh.
mean, that kind of thing. They're going to sit her down and show her the evidence that he was convicted on to make sure she understands that. That's my understanding. Not that he's going to have to confess to her, but that she has access to the information that led to his conviction.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I didn't know this. Did you guys know this? I didn't know this at all. So she's not gonna be okay, so Lizzie can't really marry Chris without knowing what he did. But it's not that Chris has to confess to her. So she's gonna be shown the evidence and why he was convicted, and then she decides whether or not she wants to still marry the guy. That is nuts. Did you guys know this? What I Oh, yes, Josie. Okay, yeah, this is crazy. Okay, let's go ahead and rewind it again. I think this is very interesting. So let's go ahead and listen. Rewind.
So you're absolutely right. The other thing that I thought was interesting is I thought I had read that Wisconsin not only was a state that didn't allow conjugal visits, but they also require, as part of this marriage license process, that the complete crimes be disclosed to the.
Okay, so the complete crimes have to be disclosed to the person who is applying for a marriage certificate. That's what's going on. Okay. That's interesting. Exactly. Boops. Damn. Oh, I should have applied to marry this guy. Shit. Isn't this crazy? I totally agree. Okay, so she's going to be able to see everything. She's going to see all of the reasons why Chris was convicted. Why didn't I apply to get married, Potato Head? Oh, Potato Head, I love those temples on your head. Oh, I don't even know what you did. I'm sorry, did you steal a watermelon? I mean, I would not have been able to survive. There is no way. I mean, even just to get access, I don't think I would have been able to. There's no way. No way. Goodness, can you imagine? Oh, I would have had to bring in my own paper bag and just constantly blow into it because there's no way that I can just talk to Chris like a normal human being. But my God, Lizzie is going to get access to all of the things that I've been wanting to get access to. This is so annoying. Oh, man. Oh, goodness. All right, guys, let's continue. Yeah, where are the tater tots? Yeah. I love the way your dead eyes look, Twisterfer. Mhm. Can I get some vodka from your temples? Yeah, can I just squeeze the side of your head and see if I can get a few drops of vodka? Oh, you're so handsome. I mean, imagine how much pretending I would have had to do. I would have to hold my breath. I don't know how I would have been able to get through it just to get access to his files. There's no way. No. I'd rather go through it with Weld County. I'd rather go knocking on Rourke's door. Knock, knock, knock. Hello. Hey, greasy man. Can I get access to those files, please? I think I'd rather do that than pretend to like Chris Watts. Anyways, let's continue.
The person who is part of that marriage license to prevent there being any, shall we say, misinformation being presented by the perpetrator at the time.
So is that automatically a denial of a wedding or a marriage certificate if you have someone like Watts who continues to deny that he did this?
No, the way I interpreted that, Mike, is not that. Is it would be like, for example, let's say, in other words, she's going to be presented, and this is my reading of it. So she's going to be presented with the facts of the case and what he was convicted of.
How is that fair? How is this fair? Exactly, Boobs. Let's just hope that she's taking it for the team, right? Let's hope she's taking one for the team. Let's hope that she is this realtor who turned true crime enthusiast and is just doing a huge solid for all of us. Oh, this sucks. How is it that she gets access to all of this just because she wants to marry Potato Head? This is horrible. This is horrible.
To make sure that she understands what he was convicted of and what the facts were against him. So it's not that he has to come and say, I did it. Or it's that they want to make sure he's not telling her that I'm in here for whatever, or, really Shanann did this. That kind of thing. They're going to sit her down and show her the evidence that he was convicted on to make sure she understands that. That's my understanding. Not that he's going to have to confess to her, but that she has access to the information that led to his conviction and to be sure she understands what his crimes were.
You probably tire every time you and I visit. I have like one battering ram question after.
That is so true, V-Bug. Yeah, the evidence wasn't even fully processed through. Still, though, right? She still gets access to Potato. The only access I can get is at the grocery store. I can't ask those potatoes, hey, what happened? Can you tell me what you did? She gets full access to this man, all because she's marrying him. There's no way I could have handled it, you guys. There's no way. No. I mean, even just trying to get an interview with the man, I would have to pretend to like him. I would have to say, oh, Chris, I believe you. And then just look at him dead in the eye. When all I want to do is other stuff, right? I just want to go and just see what that hollow head sounds like, right? It just sounds like doom, 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 right? You just hear the echo inside of that empty skull of his. Who knows? Maybe you can make a musical instrument out of his head. All right, let's continue.
Conviction and to be sure she understands what his crimes were.
You probably tire every time you and I visit. I have like one battering ram question after another because I it's so rare that I get a time to really just visit with you and talk about these. But where's the line then between believing that somebody can change or minimizing what they've done?
Mm.
Good question. Good question. Oh my God, you guys, such a good channel. I love this back and forth. Okay, so the question, minimizing and then believing that they actually changed. The difference.
What they've done.
Mm. Well, I think it probably depends on, in some respects, on what's at stake. And I did remember the word that she used was she said that she thought what happened was harsh. And so there was a huge reaction. That was her words, is that that was a harsh, and it was a terrible thing for anybody to experience.
Right. Oh my God, she's so good. She even knows exactly what Lizzie Twat said. She did say that. She said, "Oh, what happened was harsh." What does that mean? Harsh? I think it's more than harsh. It's heinous. It's gruesome. It's vile and it's evil. I mean, yeah, it's harsh, but I mean, that's kind of a weird way to describe what Chris did, right? He murdered a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, an unborn baby, and his pregnant wife. I think that it goes beyond harsh. What do you guys think? I wouldn't use harsh to describe what he did. The other thing that she says is it's terrible for anyone who experienced it. Well, yeah, it was definitely horrible for Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico to experience it. It was also very horrible for her family to have to experience it. Her mom, her dad, and her brother. And man, I mean, even Dieter, her friends, right? Chris's friends. It was definitely horrible for everyone to experience it. But again, I think it's she's minimizing it, right? I mean, the way that she describes what Chris did, she is minimizing the things that he did. Oh, it's harsh. Would you guys use that word to describe what he did? Harsh. I wouldn't. Okay, let's go ahead and end our last poll. Let's go ahead and ask. I'm going to ask you guys because you guys are on fire. I mean, you guys are always on fire, but I'm glad that we can have this conversation. I love it, guys. I love it. It was the whole point of my channel. I really, on top of roasting psycho killers, I really like to have these deep discussions because, again, we all have different perspectives. We have very different experiences. We come from all walks of life, and I really love having this discussion with you guys. Okay. Would you guys describe this as harsh? But hold on. I need to change the wording. Do we think that describing it as harsh is minimizing it? That's going to be the question. Do you think that describing the murders as harsh minimizes what Chris did? Okay, do you think that describing the murders as harsh, right? So that is what she's calling it, right? Harsh. Do we think that it minimizes what Chris Watts did? And we can also say, okay, so for some people who are just not sure, let's go ahead and put not sure. Okay, let's go ahead and start the poll. All right, guys. Do you think that describing the murders as harsh minimizes what Chris Watts did? Yes, no, or not sure? Very straightforward. Exactly. Harsh to who? Right. That's such a good question. Harsh to who? To the victims or to the victims' families or to her or to Chris? Such a good question, Tommy Zero. Who do we think? Or what do we think? Sorry. She deserves Chris only a mental case for his potato head. 20% believe Chris is trying or repentant. Yeah, that blows my mind. Yeah, Josie. Yes. Yeah, that's why I like doing these polls because I mean, it's interesting. And I do understand the perspectives though. I do understand why some of us believe that he is really trying. I mean, some people do believe it. I don't. I look at people's behaviors and their actions, not what they say, and that is what I go off of. All right, guys, let's continue. Yeah, exactly. Smart survival. Harsh is running out of chocolate. Yes. Yeah, not only is it minimizing, but she's trying to include Chris into that group. Oh, right. Yes, I agree with that, Boops. Yes, she's not only minimizing it, but she's also saying, oh, it's also harsh for Chris. Oh, which is not. It's not harsh for him. He did it to himself. That's why he's in prison because he annihilated his family. Oh my goodness. Yeah, harsh is when Sparkle stands up my foot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So many other things can be described as harsh. Okay. Um, Harsh is what I put Gia through during these live streams, right? Because she has to wait for 2 hours before she goes out and gets her devil's lettuce. Harsh is not having enough coffee in the morning, right? Harsh is not being able to turn on my AC because my window's broken, right? Those things are harsh. But murdering a family, no, that that is minimizing it. All right, let's continue.
So it was just kind of there's just this distancing and kind of minimizing language that I picked up on. I'm just going back to when I said I couldn't remember the words. And so there was a huge reaction. That was her words. So that was a harsh, and it was a terrible thing for anybody to experience. So it was just kind of there's just this distancing and kind of minimizing language that I picked up on. I'm just going back to when I said I couldn't remember the words that she used.
Yes. Oh, minimizing and distancing language. She's minimizing it and she's distancing herself from it. And she picked up on it.
But
No, those were very, very accurate. In fact, and because when I read that, I thought, yeah, I would agree that murdering 4 people, 3 little children, is pretty hard on
pretty hard.
people.
Yeah, pretty harsh. Yeah, yeah, traumatic thing to go through. Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I think it's interesting because I think so. When you're asking me, where's the line between can somebody change? Right, that was one of the questions. Believing somebody can change, and then minimizing what they've done. Well, they're kind of two separate questions in a way, right? Because I'm going to believe what somebody's done based on the evidence that I have and the facts.
Right.
And the same thing is true in terms of believing can somebody change. So, if I see people sometimes who did horrible things as teenagers, they were convicted, maybe they got life in prison, they're being resentenced, up for resentenced. They're 45 years old now, and there's no doubt they did what they did, and they're honest about what they did. And even if they weren't, I've got all the records anyway.
Right.
And I tell them that. But most of the time, they're completely honest about what they did. And I look at, of course, that, and I look at what has happened for the past 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I talk to people who've been in contact with them. I talk to the custody officers who are with this person every day, not just their family, because I know their family wants them to get out or wants them to be resentenced.
Right, exactly. You can't really trust family because family is very biased, as we see with Cindy and Ronnie, right? They're very biased. I mean, they're going to believe Chris no matter what. No matter what. So, oh, God, this is so good.
I look at their rules and fractions. I look at their behavior. I look at all, and I have to make some kind of assessment. Is this person? Is there a capacity of rehabilitation?
Right.
And oftentimes, I think that there is, and I think it not because the person's telling me that.
Exactly.
But,
exactly. Yeah, not because the person is telling you. I mean, they can be telling you all day, every day. Oh yeah, I read the Bible. Yeah, I read it upside down because I can't really read actually. And I skip over numbers because I don't know how to say those names. I go all the way to the back where the photos are. Yeah, I like the little colors. Yeah, they can tell you all that all day, every day. But look at their actions. Right? Look at their actions. Look at the fact that Chris is still lying about it. He's still not truthful about it. He's still using all of this secretive bullshit to his own benefit. He's still using that for his benefit. He's still holding on to the truth.
Because I see that they've changed. They're taking accountability. They're holding themselves accountable, and not just saying it. Their behavior demonstrates it.
That's
they've shown
the real key, isn't it?
It is. It's not what they say. It's what they do. We know that in any relationship, right? It's like we can say anything. We can even mean it when we say it. But can we do it?
Yeah, exactly. In any relationship. In any relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship with a coworker, with a boss, with your parents. I mean, they can tell you one thing, but it is the action that says another, right? Perspective again. Let me just bring in my own, personal experiences, right? My mom would tell me, "Oh, I do love you," as she's brutalizing me and my siblings, right? I saw the action and I saw the behavior and I knew how it made me feel and it made me feel terrible. So then I didn't really I didn't take what she said at face value. I didn't take what she said as, "Oh, I love you," and believed her. I used the things that she did to me and my siblings and used that as a way to conclude that no, she doesn't love any of us and that she is a psychotic narcissist. Right? I see the way that she treats my siblings and the way that she still treats my dad. And I can see that that woman doesn't love anybody. I mean, she can say it all day, every day. She can scream it. She can get on the highest rooftop ever, right? At the very top of what is it? I don't know. What is the tallest building on earth? She can get at the very top of it and scream it, "I love you," at the top of her lungs. It doesn't change the fact that she brutalizes the people that she claims to love. So it is the behavior that we need to be looking at. And when we are looking at Chris's behavior, his behavior shows that he is not repentant. His behavior tells us that no, he doesn't actually care about telling anybody the truth. There is no change in Chris. None. The only change that we see is that he's reading the Bible, and that to me is not enough for this man to get any additional rights in prison. It just can't. Right? Exactly. They can't love. And Chris is one of them. He just can't love.
Can we show it over time? Is this person accountable? Is this person saying, yeah, I did this horrible thing? There's no excuse for it. This is the impact it had. And this is how I've tried to somehow not make up for it, because you can't make up for it, but how I've tried to live my life since then.
So, Dr. Johnston, this is probably the perfect segue in the minutes that we have left to move into this idea of forgiveness and redemption. And, I come to things from a Christian perspective, but down the road, 3 blocks, is the imam of the local mosque, who happens to be an Uber driver. And I personally call him every time I need to go to the airport, because I love the man and love the experience of talking with him. And we often talk doctrine, and we've often kind of said that we have this perfect point where we agree on things. We might have to go back to Abraham, but we agree on things. And but the thing I found is that everyone believes in forgiveness and redemption, whatever that level means in redemption. But does that mean we should forget?
I don't think it ever means we should forget. And I think
Good question. Didn't I? Yeah, this is. I asked this question before. Even if he was redeemable, let's say I really don't believe he is. I really don't. Personally, no, he's not. He's just not redeemable. I mean, he murdered 4 people, 3 children, not redeemable. But even if he was, does that mean that we forget, right? Does that mean, oh, okay, he's a completely changed man. He's different now. He is fully repentant. He's shown remorse. Does that mean that we should forget the things that he did? No. No. I don't think we should. No. How? No. What he did was vile. Why should we forget only because, oh, he's now a different man? Oh, he's showing us that he's a different man. He's demonstrating it in every way, shape, or form. No, I still don't think that he deserves to like forgiveness. One, I don't think he deserves forgiveness, and he definitely doesn't deserve a new chance. You guys let me know though.
I think the other part of that is, and I think that sometimes so much part of the outrage when we hear things like this is because there's also the justice component, right, and the responsibility component. And I think I can't imagine what it's like for Shanann's family to think, this is somebody who allegedly killed his family, which he did that, but
Well, not allegedly. I mean, he did. Right? He did kill the family.
think, this is somebody who allegedly killed his family, which he did that, but to kind of start a new life without the responsibility of having kids and to be with his mistress.
Right.
And, what does it feel like for her family, for him now to be applying to get married? He doesn't have kids anymore. He doesn't have that responsibility. Yes, he's going to be in prison. I'm not saying he's, going to be on the beach drinking margaritas, but in some respects, that must feel like a slap in the face for them to think.
Exactly. Ah, exactly. What a slap in the face. I mean, yeah, the man is going to be in prison, and just like she said, yeah, he's not going to be on the like at the beach, sipping on margaritas and mai tais and pina coladas. Sure, but he still has the right to marry. I mean, he murdered his family. He was fully married. I mean, he had the marriage. He had the marriage. He had the wife. He had the kids, and he decided, oh, I don't want to be married anymore because I want to be single so that I can go be with this woman instead, Nicole Kessinger. And now he gets the opportunity to marry again, even though he had that already and he decided to throw it away in the trash. How is that fair? How is that fair? Oh my God. I love her. I love her.
More. He doesn't have that responsibility. Yes, he's going to be in prison. I'm not saying he's, going to be on the beach drinking margaritas, but in some respects, that must feel like a slap in the face for them to think, is this justice? That this person now is, going to have somebody doting on him and all these relationships and other women writing to him as well. And I mean, I think that's the hardest part for many people to kind of get their head around, is that part of it just seems unfair.
What?
Yeah.
Because it is unfair. It is unfair. How is this fair? This is not fair. I shouldn't have any chance to marry after what he did. How is it possible that he has those rights?
So Chris Watts will sit in prison the rest of his life. If this marriage happens, Lizzie will be living nearby. And talk to me about the things that she gets out of this from a perspective of control, safety. Help me understand that a little better.
Yeah, I mean, so she will get a sense of being very special because she has this relationship with this very, very infamous prisoner who's very high profile. So already she's getting tons of attention, right? There's pictures of her, and she's getting a lot of, whether she wants it or not at this point, she's certainly getting a lot of recognition. I know who she is. I didn't before this. You know who she is. You didn't before this.
Yep.
So she has that part of it. She will get to call the shots, basically, in terms of when she comes to visit him. She will again get to, she'll get to feel like she is his world when she's there. Now, we don't know who else is going to be his world and who else he'll be communicating with. She probably won't either. But for her, that'll be a very special feeling. She'll get to go home and not have to worry about cooking for somebody or, doing the typical things you do when you're in a relationship with somebody who's actually there. It'll be easy for that to remain a fantasy.
Yeah.
Because, again, they're not going to be with each other every day.
Yeah, that is so. This is so true. Yeah, she can live a fantasy. I mean, she can make him a king in her own brain if she wants to. Right? She can make him a cowboy. Oh yeah, my husband is a cowboy. She can make him an astronaut. Oh yeah, my husband isn't here because he's in the moon. Yeah. Yeah, he's taking a forever trip to Jupiter because he's an astronaut. I mean, she can make whatever idea she wants in her brain, right? She can turn him into whatever she wants. She can turn him into dinosaur. Oh, I'm dating a T-Rex. Yeah, he went extinct. I mean, my goodness. When it comes to the fantasy, it can be anything, right? He's Godzilla. That's why he's not around. He's a sewer rat. That's why he lives in the sewers. I mean, yeah, she can make him whatever she wants. Oh man. Yeah, she can punish him. She can punish him. You don't act the way I like. I won't come and visit you. Exactly, Jerry. She does have a lot of control over this, doesn't she? Yeah, she calls the shots. She calls the shots. She decides when to visit him. If she doesn't like that Chris is writing to other women, she can just say, you know what? I want a divorce. All of the power actually falls on Lizzie. Wow. That's crazy. Exactly. Let's hope, right? Let's hope that Lizzie uses this power to treat him like crap. That's what he deserves.
And there'll be, obviously, she won't have kids with him. She's going to have some very negative publicity, negative reaction. Her family, I know, is very, at least her sister seems to be very upset about this. Um, so I'm not saying it's a cakewalk or anything like that, but she will have some. I mean, she is obviously getting some of her needs met, Mike, or she would not be there.
I just had this wild thought. Could she, and is there any historical evidence of an inmate being able to in vitro fertilize a spouse on the outside?
Yes, there is.
Oh, hell no. No. In vitro?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. I may have to like send you a text or something after this. Um, it was either Ted Bundy who managed to get somebody pregnant.
Yeah, he did.
Heaven's sakes.
I'm saying this now. I need to really check into that to make sure. But
Yeah, he got his wife pregnant. But did it happen via in vitro or did it happen regular? All right, regular. Just getting 2 seconds in there, all right? He's like, oh, here, give me a hug. Are you pregnant yet? Really, what happened? Okay, here, let's go ahead and see. Ted Bundy got his wife pregnant while in prison. Oh, man. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. This is nuts. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this. Yes, Ted Bundy fathered a child with his wife, Carol Ann Boone. Carol Ann Boone. Look at this. All right, let's go ahead and read it. Look at this, conception and birth. She was born in October of 1982. Boone and Bundy married in 1980 during his Florida murder trial when Bundy illegally proposed to her while she was on the witness stand. What? She was on the witness stand? No way. She was on the witness stand. This is so crazy. Conception circumstances. Florida state did not allow conjugal visits for death row inmates. However, guards reportedly looked the other way or allowed private moments during visits in the visiting park, leading to widespread speculation and various unverified accounts regarding how Rose was conceived. Wow. That's nuts. Yeah, he proposed in court. Oh. The Bundy baby was conceived up against the vending machines. Wait, do we know that for sure? No way. The vending machines? That is so crazy. Okay, so yeah. I mean, if the guards look the other way and they allow Chris and Lizzie just even 2 seconds, right? That's really all it takes for Chris. 2 seconds. I mean, how hard is it to grab a toothpick and drop it into someone's pocket, right? That's how easy it would be for Chris. A toothpick dropped into a pocket. It takes a second. A second, that's all it takes. So the guard really doesn't even have to turn their heads for that long. All they have to do is, oh, wow. And then he's already done. Right? It's like, oh, wait, hold on. What happened here between you two? That's all it takes. It's a few seconds. Let's continue.
absolutely, that has happened before.
So can we come back and visit this one in the next episode?
Yeah, let's do.
That would be really interesting. And I want to leave you with something that Greg and I once interviewed a serial rapist in a Montana prison who confessed to us of killing 8 elderly women. And it was an incredible interview. And in the course of that, in order to fight a rape charge that he was on, he actually ejaculated into an envelope and was going to mail it to a friend of his. And he asked his friend in a letter in the envelope, hey, will you please go out and rape an old lady and just scrape my semen?
What?
And, being the rocket scientist he was, he didn't realize they were checking mail. And I think of the poor prison
Oh.
officer that had to find that. But we're dealing with people who are conniving, and I don't believe personally that even through the redemptive process, especially looking at the evidence of Chris Watts and the failure to admit or her to even admit that he will change.
I don't either. I do not. I mean, and again, I have not directly communicated with him, but there have been so many people who've talked about him now, kind of blaming it on his mistress and calling her a Jezebel. And I mean, there's just this complete. There's just you don't get any sense that this person really feels remorse for what he's done.
Mm. I mean, he is talking about Nicole Kessinger because, in my opinion, she was involved. So there is a part of Chris that is telling the truth, not fully though. I know a lot of people don't really believe that he's telling the truth every time that he throws Nicole Kessinger under the bus, right? That he calls her a Jezebel and whatnot. I mean, it's true though. All those things are true. But he's still the thing that we still want to see is Chris taking accountability for what he did. He still needs to admit that he did all these things to be with Nicole Kessinger, and then he's free to throw Nicole Kessinger under the bus. But I think it's because Chris hasn't fully confessed and he hasn't fully shown any remorse. Anytime that he throws Nicole Kessinger under the bus, to a lot of people, it does seem like he's just deflecting blame. For us, every time he throws Nicole Kessinger under the bus, he's being truthful in a way. What do you guys think? Yeah, exactly. He lied so much that no one believes him anymore. All right, guys, let's go ahead and end the last poll. Do you think that describing the murders as harsh minimizes what Chris Watts did? Yes, look at that. 87% of you. It does minimize it. No. 12% of you said no. And then 1% said not sure. Oh, interesting. So calling it harsh wouldn't really minimize it for some people? Oh, it was harsh. Right, that's fine. To me, I find it very, very minimizing. I mean, again, right? I would use other words to describe what he did, but harsh is not one of them. Yeah, he's blame shifting. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I think part of it is, again, because Chris just has been lying and he doesn't take accountability. So anytime he does blame Nicole, even though I believe there's truth to it, a lot of people don't. Unfortunately. He deflected in that letter to Anna, but he might have been telling the truth. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we will never know unless he actually confesses. Oh, man. All right, guys, let's continue.
Or takes responsibility for it.
So can I shift gears for 30 seconds and just have you share what the mindset is of all of the women and men who jumped into the Luigi Mangione camp, gave $800,000 or more now to defend him, and what that moment in time when he admitted to it must have been, and does it change anybody's mind in that camp based on the fact that it was healthcare that they were after?
I think with Luigi Mangione has a little bit of a different spin to it. I mean,
yeah, see, I really wanted her to talk about this part because I agree. It's very different putting Chris, Luigi, and Richard Ramirez in the same camp because they're not the same. They're not the same at all. Here, let's go ahead and listen to what she says.
First of all, he is attractive, and that's always somebody that women are going to be attracted to. And for men, it's the same thing. If it's an attractive defendant, they're going to be much more interested. But I do think that what Luigi Mangione sparked, and it's unfortunate because it was such a horrendous act that he did and took the life of somebody who did not deserve that at all. But I think what it did spark is people's outrage, or some people's outrage at the healthcare system, and the sense that they had been mistreated, or somebody they knew had been mistreated, or been denied the coverage, or had some bad experience. And I do think that he became, unfortunately, a rallying point.
Yeah, exactly. See, I agree with this. We can't put Chris Watts and Luigi Mangione in the same group. Chris Watts murdered his family to be with a mistress, right? To be with another woman. Luigi is more like a Robin Hood, in my opinion, right? Luigi is more of the guy where he steals from the rich to give to the poor. What he did is absolutely gruesome, right? I mean, goodness gracious, don't do that. But what he did because he believed that he was getting justice for millions and millions and millions of people out there that get screwed over by health insurance. constantly, right? Health insurance in this country is an absolute scam. And so when you pay for health insurance and then your insurance denies you health care, then those people die. They end up getting sick, or you end up with severe bankruptcy, right? Because you're not able to pay any of that back because you had an emergency, right? So it's very different to be comparing Chris and Luigi Mangione. It's not the same.
For people who were already angry at a system and then took the opportunity to kind of use him as their hero.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
I
Right? That's kind of what yeah, that's what I was saying. So he's more like a hero to people. He's more of a Robin Hood, whereas Chris is a lustful, selfish POS. He didn't murder somebody because he was trying to send a message about how evil and corrupt things are. No, he did it just because he's lustful. He did it for himself. It's because he is selfish.
thought Commissioner Tisch, the New York Police Commissioner, said it best when she sent a message after reminding the public that someone that's done this is not a hero and it shouldn't be glamorized. And I'm grateful. I came to know Commissioner Tisch over the years working in the New York Police Department, and I was so proud of her for doing that. Dr. Joni Johnston, tell how people can follow you, how they can get your articles, how
Oh
they
my
can
God,
catch you on
yes.
documentaries, how they can
Oh,
get your
gosh.
podcasts.
Well, the thing that I love to promote the most because it's free is my Substack newsletter. And it's called The Mind Detective. It's very easy to find. And
Dr. Joni is amazing. Dr. Joni is amazing. She is so knowledgeable. I love that she's just so real, right? She doesn't sugarcoat it. She's like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what this is, right? I do love hearing from her. So, guys, let's go ahead and follow Dr. Joni. Let's go ahead and help her too. But yeah, guys, what do you think? What do you think about this? What do you guys think about this? Yeah, laughing, enjoying the funeral service. Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. And see, yeah, that's the truth, right? I mean, we can sit here and debate whether or not what Luigi did changed anything. Of course, it doesn't. It doesn't. See, the thing is, it doesn't change anything. A new CEO stepped in. The system still sucks, and it sucks even more every single year. So it doesn't really change anything. It really doesn't. But yeah, the classification, right? Putting him in the same camp as Chris Watts and Richard Ramirez. I mean, that I do not agree with at all. Falling in love with Chris Watts and then falling in love with Luigi Mangione, two different types of murderers. Like I said in the very beginning, two different types. So crazy, but yeah. I'd like to hear her take on NK. Yes, yes, me too. I would love to hear what she says about Nicole Kessinger. Um, yeah, Robin Hood is fiction, right? Yeah, it is fiction. But the story, right? The story is very much what has been, attributed to Luigi Mangione. The idea of stealing or, taking from the rich to give to the poor. It's the same kind of idea that people are, they're rallying behind Luigi because of it. Yeah, totally different things. Exactly. Yep. All right, guys. I wanted to ask you one last question, and I already forgot the question. Ah, I already forgot it. I always forget these things. Okay, here, let's go ahead and scroll up. I wanted to see. Yeah, Luigi's not the same as twats. Ramirez enjoyed killing people. Chris just looks at him like updating a new model and does what he thinks is necessary. Exactly. Yep, I agree. All right. All right, guys. I wanted to ask you a question. Okay, and then the question are they allowing Twister visits? Okay. So, what do we think? Do we think that Chris and Lizzie Twats can still have a baby? Because I've been seeing a lot of these ideas and a lot of these fears all over the place, and I think it's a very real fear. Is it possible that Chris can father another baby. Now, we understand, we know that there are no conjugal visits, and just for clarification, conjugal visits don't necessarily mean that these visits are only for Twister, right? Conjugal visits are not for Twister. Conjugal visits, it is actually a program that is designed to help prisoners connect with their families so that they can have a better chance at rehabilitation. Now, we know that for Chris Watts, there is no rehabilitation for him because he's got life in prison. He has 5 life sentences, right? So he's never going to get out. There's no rehabilitation for this man. So he doesn't get conjugal visits. But is it possible that a guard can just turn their head and then get Lizzie Twats pregnant? Oh, can you imagine? Okay, so do you think okay, let's go ahead and ask this question because, oh man, that is a very big fear of mine. I think it's a fear that everybody has because it would be so disrespectful and unfair that he's allowed to father more children. Oh, let's hope not. Imagine. Oh my God, it's imagine. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start this poll. Just want to see what you guys think. Okay. So Ron, that he's even able to marry, what's mess? Exactly. Yep. Nico didn't get to take a breath, and so no, he shouldn't be allowed to have children. Exactly. Oh no, Rox. Have a 5-minute brain. I had to say it's possible, but no, I hope not. That's what happened with Ted Bush. They were in janitor closet and the guard saw and looked the other way. Disrespectful and torture for the child. Imagine the bullying that child will have because of the yes, the V-bug. That is such a good point. That is such a good point. Imagine, oh man, imagine the abuse that the poor child is going to suffer because their father is Twister for twats. He could if he pays the guards. If they had twins, they can name one chicken and the other carrots. Chicken twats and carrot twats. Oh man. It is against Dodge's rules. It is. But guards, they can do whatever they want. Right? Yeah. Yeah, guys. Yes. So again, clarification. Dodge Correctional does not allow conjugal visits. It doesn't matter though. Because Ted Bundy still impregnated a woman without conjugal visits. It's still possible. It can still happen. Guards get paid off. Guards don't give a shit. See, guards in prisons, they don't even make enough money to care. That is the truth of the matter is that guards get paid barely minimum wage. They don't even get paid enough to give a shit. So the truth is that any of these guards can just turn the other way. If Chris Watts is able to pay them more than what what Dodge Correctional is able to pay these guards, then I think any of them would be willing to turn the other way. Ted Bundy's daughter does not have his name. Oh, that's good. That's really good. And their mother chose the man. Yeah, two twats don't make a twite. Oh man, Mr. Garlic Man. There's a man who wouldn't say who his father was. He did DNA and oh what? Found out Charles Manson is his dad? Oh, oh my. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, guards are pervy. See, guards are people too, you guys. I don't know why we're giving guards so much credit. Guards are people too. And guards make shit money. Guards make, oh my God. The thing is, yeah, again, guards don't make enough to give a shit. They don't. All right, guys, here, let's see. What is 49 votes? Okay, do you think Chris Watts can get Lizzie pregnant? Yes, no, it's possible. 49% say it's possible. hmm Hopefully, this lady is no longer able to conceive. Let's hope. It won't be the last between Chris and Lizzie. Oh, goodness. Please, let's hope not. All right, what else? What else? Chris might have the guard. Chris might give the guard some of those gift cards. See, I believe it. Yeah, he probably saved some of those gift cards that Nicole Kessinger gave him so that he can bribe the guards. It's possible. All right, guys. Okay, look at this. So we have 52 votes. It's possible pigs can fly. I mean, yeah, they can. They can. If you put a pig in an airplane, it can fly. Law enforcement and the DA couldn't be asked to investigate NK. It's reasonable to think that underpaid guards care. It's unreasonable to think. Exactly. I know, exactly. Imagine thinking that an unpaid guard gives a shit. They don't. They don't. Guards in Washington do okay. My neighbor's bestie got fired for having an affair with an inmate. Oh my goodness. Wow. No way. Got fired for having an affair with an inmate. Why are you having a I'm telling you guys, guards can be corrupted. Guards are people too. I told my own grown children that I'd love to be a grandmother. I can imagine bringing children into this corrupt world now. They both chose not to procreate. Yep. Next thing you know, the hoe will be on Nancy. All right, guys, a few more seconds maybe. Anybody who wants to vote, some last minute votes in here? Here, let's go ahead and look up. How much on average? Okay, guys, here, I just wanted to show you all very, very quickly. This is just average, right? I wanted to ask, how much do guards get paid on average? Okay, on average. How much do they get paid? I pulled up, so the Bureau Labor of Statistics, BLS. Look at that. Hourly wage around 27 an hour in some places, right? In some places. And again, this is an average. Okay, average. Highest paid 75, lowest paid make around 47,000 a year. So yeah, the federal type are federal employment, right? So you can work for the federal prisons, or you can also work for local. And it really depends. Some of these places, just like who was it that said it earlier? Yeah, Washington might be able to pay their guards a little more because it's Washington state compared to somewhere like Louisiana, for example. They might pay way less in Louisiana than you would in Washington state, right? Because Washington state has more money. California has more money than Louisiana does. And so, yeah, on average, I mean, imagine making 47,000 a year as a guard, having to get up every single morning and deal with inmates throwing shit at you, spitting at you, calling you all kinds of names, threatening to kill you and find your family and killing you. I mean, imagine having to care that much for $47,000 a year. No. All right, guys, let's go ahead and end this poll. All right. So do you think Chris Watts and Lizzie can get Lizzie pregnant? It's possible. I think so too. I think so too. And 27% said no. Look at that. And then 25% say yes. All right. So fingers crossed that it doesn't happen. Okay. Fingers crossed that it doesn't ever happen. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. But anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so, so much for joining this live stream. This was a good one. What do you guys think? Let me know. We still talked about Chris Watts, but I really, really wanted to talk about the psychology of these crazy people because it's important to talk about it. And yeah, I just wanted to change it up a little bit as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this video, this live stream, and thank you all so much for joining. I do want to thank my moderators. Thank you guys so much for moderating the channel. Thank you to all of my members. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And thank you to my subscribers. Thank you all so much for subscribing and watching and continuing to like, comment, subscribing, sharing and hyping and all the good stuff. Thank you guys so much. I will be having another live stream here very, very shortly. If you guys want to join that one, we're going to be talking about how YouTube is suppressing my content. And it's not just me. It's happening to a lot of other YouTubers out there. So I'm not going to talk about it on this video because I do want to be able to test a lot of this. And I've already noticed that this one is also being suppressed. So I'm going to change it and I'm going to come back, make it a different live stream, and then see how that one goes. And then I just want to talk to you all about all the changes that are occurring. It's crazy. All right, guys. Thank you so much and take care. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.